Moses is probably one of the most well-known individuals in history. He's been portrayed in films, TV shows, and even cartoons. He was known for leading the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt and for receiving the Ten Commandments from God. But what many people do know about Moses is that he was a pretty normal guy who struggled with things like the rest of us, mere mortals. In fact, there are quite a few lessons that we can learn from him, especially when it comes to his leadership skills and how he dealt with the pressures of being a leader. So let's take a look at some of the biggest lessons that we can learn from Moses. Lesson number 1, don't underestimate your opponent. One of the most important things that we can learn from Moses is that we should never underestimate our opponents. In Exodus chapter 14, the Israelites were trapped between the Red Sea and the Egyptians who were coming back to reclaim them. And Moses wasn't sure what to do. It seemed like their only option was to fight their way out, which seemed like a suicide mission. But then he remembered something that God had told him earlier, that when the time came, he would part the waters so that the Israelites could escape. So although the odds were stacked against them, Moses had faith that God would come through for them. And he was right, because after a night of intense prayer, God told Moses to lead the Israelites forward and that he would take care of the rest. And in the morning, the Israelites woke up to find that the water had been parted. This allowed them to flee through the sea on dry land. And then Moses and God closed the sea behind them, killing all of the Egyptian soldiers who tried to follow them. This teaches us that no matter how bad things may seem, we should never give up hope because God is always in control. Lesson 2, be courageous. Another great lesson that we can learn from Moses is to be courageous. In Exodus chapter 3, God appeared to Moses in a burning bush and told him that he wanted him to go back to Egypt and free the Israelites from slavery. But Moses wasn't exactly thrilled about this idea, and he told God that he wasn't a very good speaker and that he stammered a lot. But God told him not to worry, that he would be with him and help him. And just like that, Moses went back to Egypt and confronted Pharaoh and told him that the Israelites needed to be set free. Of course, Pharaoh wasn't happy about this, and he told Moses that he could shove his demands where the sun didn't shine. But despite all of the pushback that he received from Pharaoh, Moses didn't give up. He continued to confront Pharaoh until eventually he agreed to let the Israelites go. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're probably thinking that Moses must have been the greatest leader ever if he was able to stand up to a godlike figure like Pharaoh. But that's not really the case. Actually, Moses was a pretty regular guy. He doubted himself and his abilities often, and there were even times when he wasn't even able to speak properly. But despite all of these obstacles, he still managed to accomplish his goal because he was courageous enough to face his fears and do what he knew was right. Lesson number 3, don't be afraid to speak up. Another important thing that we can learn from Moses is that we shouldn't be afraid to speak up when we see something that isn't right. In Exodus chapter 2, Moses saw an Egyptian beating up an Israelite, and he was so angry that he killed the Egyptian. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. You're probably thinking, wait a minute, didn't Moses kill that guy? Wasn't that murder? Well, actually it wasn't. You see, Moses didn't kill that Egyptian because he was angry. He killed him because he was defending someone who was weaker than him. And this teaches us that sometimes it's our duty to speak up when we see something that isn't right, even if it might be uncomfortable, or even if it might cost us something. For example, if you see someone being bullied, it's your duty to defend them, even if you might be scared or even if you might get in trouble. Or if you see someone being treated unfairly, it's your duty to stand up for them. Lesson number 4, don't give up on people. Another thing that we can learn from Moses is that we should never give up on people. In Exodus chapter 3, God told Moses that he wanted him to go back to Egypt and free the Israelites. But Moses tried to tell God that he wasn't the best speaker and that it wouldn't work out. But God told him not to worry and that he would be with him. And although Moses didn't want to do it, he knew that it was his duty to listen to God. So he went back to Egypt and started preaching to the Israelites. At first, they weren't exactly thrilled about leaving their comfortable lives in Egypt, but eventually they changed their minds and decided to follow Moses. And this teaches us that no matter how bad things may seem, we should never give up on people. We should always believe that they can change and that they can become better. Just like the Israelites, we might think that our problems are too big to solve, But if we believe in ourselves and if we have faith in God, then we can overcome any obstacle. Lesson number 5, trust the process. Another important thing that we can learn from Moses is to trust the process. In Exodus chapter 15, the Israelites were complaining about not having food or water, and Moses was trying his best to reassure them that everything would be fine. Then God told Moses to take the staff and hit the ground with it, and the ground turned into a pool of blood. This taught the Israelites that they didn't need to worry because God was going to take care of them. And in the same way, we should remember that even when things are tough, God is in control, and He's going to make sure that everything works out for our good. We might not see it in the moment, but if we trust God, then we can be confident that He's going to make sure that we're taken care of. In conclusion, Moses was a flawed individual who struggled with the same things that we do, but he was still able to accomplish amazing things because he had faith in God and because he followed God's instructions. We can learn a lot from his example, especially when it comes to leadership. If we want to be great leaders ourselves, we need to be courageous, we need to be honest, and we need to trust in God. By following Moses' example, we can become better leaders and better people. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you haven't already, please subscribe so that you never miss an upload. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.